I married the Mafia boss to survive, but the tattoos he saw on our wedding night weren't for him. The wedding dress felt like a funeral shroud. Heavy silk clung to my skin as I stood before the full-length mirror, watching a stranger stare back at me. The makeup artist had painted someone else's face onto mine, flawless, elegant, calm, everything I wasn't. My hands shook as I reached for the veil. White lace, delicate as spiderweb, expensive as sin. The kind of thing I'd never touch in my real life. My old life. The one that ended 3 weeks ago when men in black suits appeared at my mother's hospital room. Marry Jun Kong, or disappear. That's what they'd said. Not asked. Said. Like it was already decided. Like I was just a chess piece being moved into position. I didn't understand then. I still didn't understand now. Through the window, Seoul's skyline glittered like broken glass. Beautiful, sharp, capable of cutting me to pieces. I'd been in this city for 72 hours, long enough to know I was trapped. Long enough to know that the man I was about to marry could kill me with his bare hands and no one would ask questions. A knock at the door made me flinch. It's time, Miss Ruby. Miss Ruby. Not for much longer. In 20 minutes, I'd be Mrs. Kong, property of the most dangerous man in Seoul. Protected by him, owned by him, trapped by him. I took one last look at my reflection, at the girl from Atlanta who'd worked 2 jobs to pay her mother's medical bills, the girl who'd wanted to be an artist, who'd dreamed of gallery showings and studio apartments filled with paint-stained canvases. That girl was gone. The woman in the mirror wore armor disguised as silk. I lifted my chin, straightened my spine. If I was walking into hell, I'd do it with my head up. The ceremony room was smaller than I'd expected. Intimate, suffocating. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, but heavy curtains muted the light to something dim and golden, like being underwater, like drowning slowly in luxury. 5 men sat in the front row. Not guests, witnesses. Each one flanked by bodyguards who didn't bother hiding their weapons. Their eyes tracked me as I entered, cold and calculating. Predators sizing up prey. I knew who they were. I'd been briefed. The heads of Seoul's 5 major crime families. Here to watch Jun Kong claim his newest acquisition. Here to witness whatever political game was being played with my life as the stakes. And at the front, waiting for me, stood June. My husband-to-be. My jailer. My only chance at survival. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things are beautiful. Sharp jawline that could cut glass. Dark eyes that revealed nothing. Black suit tailored so perfectly, it probably cost more than my mother's entire medical debt. He stood utterly still, watching me approach with the same expression he might use to examine a business contract. Cold. Assessing. Deciding my value. I forced myself to keep walking. 1 step, another. The borrowed heels clicked against marble like a countdown. Each sound marking the seconds until my life belonged to someone else. When I reached him, Jun's hand extended. Not a request. A command. I placed my trembling fingers in his. His grip was firm, possessive. His thumb pressed against my racing pulse, and something flickered in his eyes. Satisfaction, maybe. Or warning. The officiant spoke in Korean. I caught maybe 1 word in 5. Not that it mattered. I knew what I was agreeing to. I'd signed the contracts yesterday. Read every clause in English translation. Knew exactly what until death meant in this world. It meant his death or mine. No divorce. No escape. No second chances. Do you consent to this union? The question came in English. For my benefit. All eyes turned to me. 5 crime lords, a dozen bodyguards. Jun, still holding my hand in that unbreakable grip. My throat was desert dry. This was it. Last chance to run. Last chance to refuse. But my mother was in that hospital bed. And those men in black suits had made it very clear. Jun's protection was the only thing keeping her alive. Keeping me alive. I do. The words came out steady, stronger than I felt. Jun's fingers tightened fractionally. Approval or possession, I couldn't tell. Do you, Jun Kong, consent to this union? I do. His voice was smooth. controlled. The voice of a man who always got what he wanted. Then by the authority vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. The officiant stepped back. Jun turned to face me fully. His free hand rose to lift my veil, and for one moment, our eyes met without barriers. I saw nothing there. No warmth, no affection, just cold calculation and absolute certainty. Then he leaned in and kissed me. It should have been gentle, a performance for witnesses. But Jun kissed like he did everything else, with complete control and undeniable dominance. His hand cupped the back of my neck, holding me in place. His mouth claimed mine with the same certainty as the words we'd just spoken. Mine now. Property. Possession. When he pulled back, my lips were numb. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Mrs. Kong," he murmured. Low enough only I could hear. Testing the name. Claiming it. Someone clapped. Polite, measured applause from people who'd come to witness a transaction, not a marriage. Jun kept hold of my hand as we turned to face them. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Soothing or threatening, I couldn't tell. Maybe both. Park Jin-woo stood first, the eldest of the 5 families, grey-haired and sharp-eyed. He inclined his head slightly. Respect or acknowledgement of a chess move well played. "Congratulations, Kong. May your union be prosperous." The word hung in the air like a blade. Prosperous. Not happy, not loving, profitable. One by one, the others offered similar cold pleasantries. Each one studying me like I was a puzzle they needed to solve. Each one wondering, I could feel it, why Jun Kong had chosen to marry some nobody from America. What game was being played? What advantage was being gained? I smiled, kept my spine straight. Let them wonder. Jun's hand never left mine. The reception lasted an hour. Champagne he didn't drink. Canapés I couldn't taste. Conversation in Korean I couldn't follow. I stood at Jun's side like an ornament, his arm around my waist, his body language screaming mine to everyone who looked. Finally, mercifully, it ended. The car that took us to Jun's penthouse was bulletproof and silent. He sat beside me in the back seat, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle, cedar and smoke. He didn't speak, didn't look at me, just stared out the window at Seoul passing by. His jaw set in that expression I was learning meant he was thinking, calculating, planning moves I couldn't see. My hands twisted in my lap. The wedding band felt heavy on my finger. White gold, simple, elegant. The engagement ring above it was anything but simple, a diamond that probably cost more than my mother's house. Both chosen without my input. Both locked onto my finger an hour ago like shackles disguised as jewelry. The penthouse was in Gangnam. Top floor of a building that probably had my entire net worth just in the lobby art. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city, glittering lights stretching to the horizon. Beautiful and unreachable, like looking at heaven from hell. Jun shrugged off his jacket the moment we entered, draped it over a chair with casual grace, started unbuttoning his cuffs. I stood frozen by the door. This was it. The wedding night. The part I'd been dreading. The moment when this arrangement became real in the most physical way possible. "Drink?" Jun's voice made me jump. He stood by a bar cart, crystal decanter in hand, watching me with those unreadable eyes. Yes, please." He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, amber liquid that probably cost more per ounce than I made in a day, crossed the space between us with predatory grace. "You did well today." He handed me the glass. Our fingers brushed. The families were watching. "You didn't flinch." I was terrified. "I know," a slight smile touched his lips. "But you didn't show it. That's what matters in this world, Mrs. Kong. Not what you feel, what you show." I took a long drink. The whiskey burned going down, but it steadied me. "Why did you marry me?" "You know why. You were briefed." "I was told you needed a wife. For political reasons. That my circumstances made me suitable. I met his eyes. I don't understand what that means. I don't understand any of this." June studied me for a long moment. Then he set down his glass. "Turn around." My heart stopped. "What?" Turn around. Let me see my wife properly. The words were casual. The tone was not. This was a command from a man who expected absolute obedience. My hand shook as I set down my own glass. Slowly, I turned my back to him. I heard him move closer, felt the heat of his body behind me. His fingers found the zipper of my dress. May I? The question was polite, but we both knew I didn't have the option to say no. Yes. The zipper descended slowly. Cool air hit my spine as the dress parted. Jun's hands, surprisingly warm, brushed my shoulders as he eased the silk down. The gown slid down my body like water, pooled at my feet in a whisper of fabric, leaving me standing in nothing but white lace underwear and my heels, and leaving my back completely exposed. The silence stretched. 1 second. 2. 5. I could feel Jun's stare like a physical touch. Could feel the moment his gaze locked onto the tattoo that covered my back from shoulders to waist. The mandala I'd gotten at 19. Intricate geometric patterns that spiraled out from my spine. Beautiful, meaningless. Just art I'd chosen because I liked the way it looked. The silence went on too long. Something was wrong. June? My voice came out small. He didn't answer. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. I turned my head, trying to see his face. What I saw made my blood turn to ice. June had gone completely still, frozen like a statue. His face had transformed from controlled neutrality to something I couldn't read. Horror, recognition, rage, all three at once. His eyes were locked on my tattoo, not seeing me, seeing something else. Something that made him look like he'd just seen a ghost. Where did you get that mark? His voice was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that made me want to run. What? It's just a tattoo. I got it years ago when I was… Where? Each word landed like a stone. Did you get that mark? Atlanta. I was shaking now. A tattoo shop in Atlanta, when I was 19. I saw the design and liked it. That's all. It's just art. Jun moved suddenly, closed the distance between us in 2 strides. His hand gripped my shoulder, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to keep me in place. He forced me to turn, to show him the full tattoo. I heard his sharp intake of breath, a sound like I'd just punched him. Do you have any idea what you're wearing? His voice had dropped to barely above a whisper. What that symbol means? It's just a tattoo. That just a tattoo is a death sentence. He released me abruptly, stepped back, pulled out his phone. Nobody leaves this penthouse, especially not you. The room tilted. What? No, I just got this at a shop. It's meaningless. The artist said it was a custom design based on… It's not meaningless. Jun's fingers flew across his phone screen, typing rapidly. It's a family seal, one that was supposed to have been destroyed 10 years ago, along with everyone who carried it. My legs felt weak. I don't understand. You're not leaving until I know who sent you. He looked up from his phone. In the dim light, his face could have been carved from marble. And if you are who that mark says you are, your life ended the moment that dress fell. Security arrived within 3 minutes. Not the men who'd been at the wedding. These were different. They moved like water fluid, silent, lethal. They didn't touch me, but they didn't need to. Their presence alone made it clear that leaving wasn't negotiable. Jun gave them instructions in rapid Korean. I caught maybe 1 word in 10, but his body language needed no translation. He was making decisions about me. Decisions that probably didn't end with me walking out of here alive. Please. My voice shook. I don't understand what's happening. The tattoo, I got it at a shop in Atlanta. It's just a design. It doesn't mean anything. It's not just a design. Jun turned back to me, and the look in his eyes made me step back. It's the Choi family seal, direct bloodline only. It was tattooed on children at birth to mark them as heirs to one of the most powerful crime families in Seoul. The room felt too small, too cold. I've never even been to Korea before this. 10 years ago, the Choi family went to war with the 5 families you met today. When the dust settled, every Choi heir was dead. Every single one. He moved closer, and I had nowhere to go except back against the window. We found them. We found their bodies. We destroyed every trace of this symbol. His hand pressed against the glass beside my head, caging me in. Except we didn't. Because here you are, alive, marked, impossible. I'm not whoever you think I am. My voice came out as a whisper. June studied my face, looking for lies, for cracks in my story, for any sign that I was playing him. Then you'd better hope you can prove that, he said softly. Because if you are who that mark says you are, your life ended the moment that dress fell. He stepped back, gestured to the security team. Guest room. Lock it. If she tries to run, stop her. Whatever it takes. They moved me through the penthouse, like I was made of glass and explosives. One wrong move, and everything would shatter. The guest room was twice the size of my Atlanta apartment. Cream-colored walls, silk sheets that probably cost more than my car, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. A beautiful prison. I tried the door the moment they left. Locked, obviously. The windows didn't open. My phone was in my clutch, which I'd left in the main room. No way to call for help, not that I knew who I'd call. Hi. I'm being held captive by my husband because of a tattoo I got drunk in college. Also, apparently I'm the last surviving member of a murdered crime family. Can you help? That would go over well. I stood at the window, staring out at the city lights, trying to understand how a wedding had turned into captivity in less than 2 hours. The tattoo. I twisted, trying to see it in the window's reflection, but the angle was wrong. I'd always thought it was beautiful, abstract and flowing, like calligraphy mixed with geometric patterns. The artist in Atlanta had called it custom work, said he'd designed it himself based on mandala principles. Just art, just ink, a family seal, one that shouldn't exist. I thought about Jun's face when he'd seen it. Not just shock, there'd been something else underneath. Fear, or recognition. Like he'd seen a ghost. What the hell had I accidentally tattooed on my body? I don't know when I fell asleep. Exhaustion just dragged me under. When I woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows, and the smell of food made my stomach clench with hunger. I sat up, disoriented, still wearing the white lace underwear from last night. My wedding dress was gone. Someone had been in here while I slept. The smell was coming from beyond the bedroom door. I crept out, half expecting guards, but found an open-plan living space with a kit ruby, where June stood at the stove, cooking. He'd changed. Gone was the black suit. Now he wore casual pants and a white button-down, with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms marked with ink that made my tattoo look like a child's drawing. Dragons and symbols and script I couldn't read, all flowing together in intricate patterns. He moved with economical grace, cracking eggs into a pan without looking at them, his attention on his phone. "You should eat," he said, without turning around. "We have a lot to discuss." I should. My voice came out rough from sleep. I should go home. I should call my mum. I should not be locked in a stranger's guest room being served breakfast. "You're not locked in," he gestured with the spatula toward the main door. "Try it." I stared at him. Then at the door. It felt like a trap. Everything about this felt like a trap, but I tried the handle anyway. It opened. I looked back at him, confused. He was plating eggs now, adding toast and fresh fruit. "You're free to leave any time. But if you walk out that door, you won't make it 3 blocks before someone kills you." My hand froze on the doorknob. "That mark on your back has people looking for you. People who've been waiting 10 years for anyone associated with that symbol to surface." He finally turned, meeting my eyes. "Here, at least, you're under my protection. Out there?" He shrugged. "You're a target with no defense. You're insane." "Am I?" He set a plate on the counter, gestured for me to sit. "Tell me about your childhood, Amara." The fact that he knew my name shouldn't have surprised me. We'd just gotten married, but somehow it did. Made this more personal, more real. Why? Because if I'm going to keep you alive, I need to know everything. He poured coffee with the same economical grace he used for everything, starting with where you really came from. I should have run. Should have tested his claim about the 3 blocks, but something in his voice made me stay. Not threat, I'd heard plenty of that last night. This was different. This was curiosity matching my own. I sat. The eggs smelled incredible. When had I last eaten? Yesterday morning? Before the wedding? I'm adopted, I said finally. My adoptive mum, raised me in Atlanta. Single mother, worked 2 jobs, gave me everything she could. The coffee was perfect. I hated that I noticed. She told me my birth parents were teenagers who couldn't keep me. Closed adoption. No information. How old were you when she adopted you? I tried to remember the story, the one my mum had told me 100 times. A few months old, I think, maybe less. She said I was tiny, premature. June leaned against the counter across from me, studying my face with an intensity that made me want to squirm. And the tattoo? Spring break. 19 years old. Too drunk to make good decisions. I pushed eggs around my plate. The artist showed me the design, said it meant something about inner strength and spiritual geometry. I liked how it looked. That's it. That's the whole story. Show me again. My hands tightened on my fork. I'm not taking off my shirt. Then lift it. Just enough to see the mark. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse. But his eyes held something I hadn't seen last night. Not threat. Not even just curiosity. He looked at me like I was a puzzle he needed to solve before it killed us both. Slowly, I stood and turned my back to him. Lifted the borrowed shirt just high enough to expose the tattoo between my shoulder blades. I felt his approach before I heard it. The displacement of air, the catch of his breath. His fingers traced the ink. Featherlight. I flinched. Don't move. His voice had gone rough. This isn't just similar. It's exact. Every line, every curve. His finger followed the design's pattern, making my skin pebble with something that definitely wasn't fear. This is the Choi family seal, direct bloodline only. It was tattooed on children at birth to mark them as heirs to one of the most powerful crime families in Seoul. I've never even been to Korea before this job. 10 years ago, the Choi family went to war with the 5 families. His hand pressed flat against my lower back, sending heat racing up my spine. When the dust settled, every Choi heir was dead. Every single one. We found them. We found their bodies. We destroyed every trace of this symbol. His hand moved, tracing the outer edge of the mandala. Except we didn't. Because here you are. Alive? Marked? Impossible. I pulled away, yanking my shirt down, turning to face him. You keep saying we. Who are you? A slight smile touched his mouth, the first crack in his marble composure. Jun Kong. I run the Kong family. His smile sharpened to something dangerous, which means I helped lead the coalition that destroyed the Chor. The room tilted. Which means, he continued, voice soft, that tattoo makes you my natural enemy. I'm not. You're a Choi who shouldn't exist. Someone tattooed you as an infant. Someone hid you in America. Someone waited 23 years for the right moment. He set his coffee down with careful precision. The question is whether you're an unknowing pawn or the most patient assassin I've ever encountered. I'm not an assassin. I know. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. You're too genuine in your confusion, too scared. But someone sent you to me, Amara. Someone made sure you'd end up here. As my wife. In my home. Close enough to kill me in my sleep. That's insane. That's chess. His thumb traced my jawline. And you're a piece someone played very carefully. I'm going to find out who. But until then... His eyes darkened. You don't leave my sight. Ever. Understand? I should have said no. Should have run for that unlocked door and taken my chances on the street. But I was standing in a stranger's penthouse, wearing his shirt, with his hand on my face and his eyes promising things that terrified me more than the threat of death. So I nodded, and watched something like satisfaction flash across his perfect features. Good, he said softly, because I don't share, and you're mine now. At least until I figure out what game is being played. The word shouldn't have sent heat pooling low in my belly, but it did. The next 3 days passed in a strange limbo. Jun meant what he said about not leaving his sight. I woke to find him already working, laptop open, phone calls in Korean, managing an empire I didn't understand. I showered with the door unlocked, his presence just beyond like a wolf waiting. Emerged to find breakfast ready. Then he'd take me with him everywhere. Business meetings conducted in 3 languages while I sat in the corner trying to be invisible. Site inspections of restaurants and shipping companies, where men twice his age bowed with genuine fear-respect. Phone calls where his voice would go cold, and people on the other end would scramble to obey. I watched him move through his world like a shark through water. Efficient, elegant, absolutely lethal. And always, he watched me back. "Why do you do that?" I asked on the second day. We were in his car, one of several he owned, heading to some meeting I wasn't supposed to understand. His driver sat separated by soundproof glass. "Do what?" He didn't look up from his phone. "Look at me like that. Like you're trying to solve an equation. Because you are an equation, one that doesn't balance." He glanced up then, those dark eyes pinning me. "You're too genuine to be a plant, too confused to be acting, but you exist. Which means someone planned this. So I'm trying to figure out who benefits from you being alive, from you being found. Maybe nobody. Maybe I'm just an unlucky girl with a bad tattoo. Maybe." His gaze traveled down my body slowly enough to feel like a touch. "But I don't believe in coincidence. And I definitely don't believe in luck." "What do you believe in?" "Power. Strategy. The fact that everyone wants something." He leaned closer, and the car suddenly felt very small. "What do you want, Amara?" "To go home. To wake up from this nightmare. To stop noticing how his lips looked, how his hands moved, how my body responded every time he came close. I want to not be murdered for someone else's tattoo," I said instead. "Then you're in the right place." His smile was sharp. "Because nobody touches what's mine. And right now, you're mine to protect, mine to question." "Mine too." He stopped himself, pulled back. "We're here." On the 3rd day, Jun's phone rang at dawn. I was half awake, curled in the guest room bed, when I heard his voice through the wall. Speaking English this time. For my benefit, maybe. "Are you certain no mistakes?" A long pause. "I see. Yes. Send me everything." Silence. Then footsteps. The guest room door opened without knocking. Jun stood in the doorway, phone in hand, fully dressed despite the early hour. His face was unreadable. "Get dressed," he said quietly. "We need to talk." 20 minutes later, I sat across from him at the Kit Ruby Island, coffee steaming between us, the Seoul skyline brightening with sunrise outside the windows. Jun set his phone face up on the counter. A document glowed on the screen. Lots of text I couldn't read from this angle. "The DNA results came back," he said. My heart stopped. "DNA? When did you—" "I had my people collect samples. Hair from your brush, saliva from a glass." He didn't look apologetic. "I needed to know for certain if that tattoo was legitimate. I wanted to be angry about the violation, wanted to rage about consent and privacy. But I was too terrified to care." "What did they say?" Jun was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You're connected to the Choi bloodline. Distant, but definite. Probably a cousin line, maybe 2nd or 3rd generation. But your DNA matches the family markers." The room felt too cold suddenly. "So it's real. The tattoo. The danger. All of it." "Yes." He finally looked up, and his face was a mask I couldn't read. "Someone marked you as an infant with that seal. Someone who knew exactly what it meant. Then they placed you in a closed adoption in America, far from Seoul, far from anyone who might recognize the symbol." "Except the tattoo shop," I whispered. "Except the tattoo shop." His smile was bitter. "The random artist who showed you that custom design. My people traced it. The shop was owned by a subsidiary company connected to a man named Lee Jin-soo. He's been dead for 8 years. Killed in a territory dispute." "I don't understand." You were tagged, Amara. As a child with the birthmark. Then again as an adult with the ink. Someone made very sure that if you ever came to Korea, if you ever got noticed, that symbol would be impossible to miss. He stood, crossed to where I sat, looked down at me with something almost like gentleness in his eyes. You were always meant to be found. The only question is why. To lure you out? Possibly. To lure surviving Shwa? Or, he reached out, tucking hair behind my ear with surprising tenderness, to give me a reason to start a war. Because that's what keeping you alive means. Every family who wanted the Shwa dead will want you dead, and if I protect you, I make myself their enemy. My throat felt tight. Then don't. Let me go. Let me disappear back to Atlanta. Too late. His hand cupped my face. Words already spread. Your picture from the wedding. That tattoo. By now, every major family in Seoul knows about you. So I'm dead. Not while I'm breathing. His thumb traced my cheekbone. The only way you survive is if you're too valuable to kill, too protected to touch. How do I become that? You stand with me. His eyes were dark, intense. In 6 days, there's a summit. All the major families gather to discuss territory, business, conflicts. I'm bringing you. We're going to put that tattoo on display and make them choose, accept you as legitimate, or go to war with me over it. That's insane. That's chess. And you're my queen piece. He pulled me forward, kissing me hard. But first, I need to teach you how to survive in my world. 6 days to turn you into someone who can face down crime lords without flinching. Think you can learn? Do I have a choice? There's always a choice. But his arms tightened around me. You could run. Take your chances. Die within a week, probably. Or you can trust me. Stay close. Let me teach you everything you need to know. I thought about Atlanta, my tiny apartment, my mother who'd worked 2 jobs to raise me, a normal life I'd never get back to now. Then I thought about Jun's hands on my body, his voice in my ear, the way he looked at me like I was a problem he couldn't solve but couldn't abandon. Teach me, I said. His smile was sharp with satisfaction. Good girl. Lesson 1 starts now. The next 6 days were a crash course in survival. Jun taught me to read body language, the tells that meant someone was lying, the stance that signaled violence coming, the way eyes would flick to exits when people were planning betrayal. He taught me to project power, even when terrified, to hold eye contact with men twice my size until they looked away first. You're not a nobody anymore, he said on the 3rd day. We were in his office, practicing. You're a Choi, the last of a bloodline these men tried to exterminate. You stand in that room like you belong there, like they should be afraid of you. I am afraid of them. Then lie better. He circled me slowly. Fear is normal. Showing it is death. So you take that fear, and you turn it into anger. Contempt. Make them wonder what you know that they don't. We practiced until my jaw ached from clenching, until I could meet his coldest stare without flinching. He was a harsh teacher, pushing me past comfortable, past easy, until something in me hardened into steel. At night, we'd stand on the balcony, Seoul glittering below. Jun's presence beside me, solid and warm. We'd talk about strategy, about the families, about what to expect. And sometimes we wouldn't talk at all. Just stand there in charged silence, the air between us crackling with everything we weren't saying. On the 4th night, his hand found mine. On the 5th, I leaned against him, felt his arm come around my waist. On the 6th night, the night before the summit, I couldn't sleep. I found Jun in his office at 2 a.m., laptop open, reviewing something in Korean. He looked up when I entered. Can't sleep? Terrified, I admitted. He closed the laptop, gestured for me to come closer. When I did, he pulled me into his lap, surprising gentleness from a man who'd been ruthless all week. What if they vote to kill me? I whispered. They won't. But, if they do. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'll kill anyone who tries to touch you. And we'll run together. Far enough that even my family can't reach us. You'd give up everything? I'd give up everything. His hand traced the curve of my spine. Somewhere in the last 6 days, you stopped being a problem to solve. Now you're just mine. And I protect what's mine. I turned in his lap to face him. Our faces inches apart. Jun. He kissed me. Not like the wedding. Not cold or performative. This kiss was fire and desperation, and 6 days of mounting tension finally breaking free. His hands fisted in my hair, angling my head exactly how he wanted. I made a sound half gasp, half moan, and his grip tightened. This is a mistake, he muttered against my lips. Probably. You could be everything they say. A weapon, a trap. Could be. I nipped his lower lip, gratified when his grip tightened. Are you going to stop? I pulled back enough to meet his eyes. His answer was, to lift me. Carry me from his office toward his bedroom, not the guest room with sure strides. By the time we reached his bed, we were kissing again. Desperate, hungry, crossing every line we'd been dancing around for 6 days. We didn't make it to dawn. Morning came with the smell of coffee and the warmth of Jun's body beside mine. I woke slowly, tangled in silk sheets, every muscle pleasantly sore. Memories of last night flooded back. His hands, his mouth, the way he'd whispered my name like a prayer and a curse. Mine. He'd said it over and over, branding it into my skin with every touch. You're awake, Jun's voice, rough from sleep. I turned to find him propped on one elbow, watching me with an intensity that made me shiver. Did you sleep at all? I asked. Some. His finger traced my jawline, down my throat, along my collarbone. Mostly I watched you, tried to figure out how you did this. Did what? Made me choose you. His eyes held mine. Last night, I realized something. If the families vote to kill you today, I won't negotiate. I won't compromise. I'll go to war. My breath caught. June. That's not strategic. That's not smart. That's... He stopped, shook his head. That's what you've done to me in 6 days. Made me willing to burn everything for you. Is that what you want? To burn everything? No. He kissed me softly. I want them to accept you, recognize you. Let me keep you without bloodshed. His smile turned sharp. But if they don't, I'm prepared to paint Seoul red. The summit was in a neutral location. A luxury hotel in Gangnam, penthouse suite with security that would make the president jealous. I wore traditional Korean clothing with a modern edge, black silk that draped perfectly, with a back cut low enough to display the tattoo in full glory. Jun had chosen it personally. You're not hiding it, we're making it impossible to ignore. Every person in that room needs to see exactly what you are. A target. A statement. He came up behind me, his hands on my shoulders, meeting my eyes in the mirror. You're proof the Choi line survived. Proof that 10 years ago, someone was smart enough to hide an heir where no one would look. That makes you dangerous, valuable, and completely under my protection. Your possession, you mean. His smile was sharp. Same thing in my world. The drive felt endless. June held my hand the entire time, his thumb tracing circles on my palm, grounding me, claiming me. Remember what I taught you, he murmured as we pulled up. Eyes up, spine straight. You belong there. They're the ones who should be nervous. Because I'm secretly a Choi heir who shouldn't exist. Because you're with me, and I'm the most dangerous man in that room. Security met us at the private elevator. They looked at me at my exposed tattoo with barely concealed shock. Good. Let them be shocked. Let them wonder. The penthouse suite was exactly what I'd imagined. Massive windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Expensive furniture arranged in a circle. 5 men already present, each flanked by bodyguards. They all turned when we entered. I felt their stares like physical weight. Assessing. Calculating. Seeing the tattoo and understanding exactly what it meant. Jun's hand pressed against my lower back. Steady, sure. Gentlemen, he said smoothly. Allow me to introduce Amara Kong, or should I say Amara Choi. The room erupted. This is insanity. You bring a dead family's heir to our summit, She should have been eliminated the moment she was found. Jun's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. She was found at my estate, under my protection, which makes her my business, and anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. Silence fell, heavy, dangerous. Park Jin-woo, the oldest man present, stepped forward. You understand what you're doing. Protecting her means choosing a side. It means telling the families who bled to end the Chua that you're harboring their enemy. I'm not harboring anyone. Jun's hand slid around my waist, pulling me close. I'm claiming her. The tattoo, the bloodline, the implications, all of it belongs to me now. So the question isn't whether she lives. The question is whether you accept that, or whether we have a problem. Another man laughed. Sharp and cruel. You're starting a war over a girl. I'm preventing one. Jun's voice went cold. She's proof the Choi line is scattered, broken. One survivor hidden in America, with no knowledge, no power, no connections. That's not a threat. That's proof we won. He paused, letting the implication hang. Unless someone here is afraid of what she represents, afraid that other survivors might exist, might be watching, might use her as a rallying point. The men exchanged glances. I could feel the calculation happening. Political chess being played with my life as the stakes. Let her speak, Park said finally. Let's hear what the Choi heir has to say for herself. All eyes turned to me. Jun's hand squeezed my waist once. Encouragement. Permission. I took a breath, remembered everything he'd taught me. Spine straight, eyes up. Belong here. I didn't choose this, Mark, I said, voice steady, despite my racing heart. I didn't choose to be born into a family that died before I could know them. I was an infant when someone tattooed this on my skin. I was adopted out, raised American, raised normal. I didn't even know what it meant until a week ago. I met each man's gaze in turn. But I know what it means now. I know you wanted the Chor dead, gone, eliminated, and you succeeded. I'm not a threat to that. I'm proof of it. I'm what's left when a bloodline is destroyed. Scattered, powerless, unknowing. Pretty words, one of the younger men said. But bloodline is bloodline. As long as you exist, you're a symbol others can rally around. Then make me your symbol instead. The words came before I'd fully thought them through. I have no loyalty to the Chua. I never knew them. But I'm alive now. And I'm standing here. And I'm under Jun's protection. Make peace with that. Use me as proof that the war is over. That the Chuas are gone. And what remains is so scattered it might as well not exist. Silence. Then Park smiled. Thin and calculating. Clever girl. You've learned quickly. His eyes flicked to Jun. Your influence, I assume. She's a fast learner, Jun said, pride in his voice. Very well. Park stepped closer. I'll vote to accept her existence. Under conditions. My heart hammered. She stays under Kong family control. She makes no claims to Choi territory or legacy. And if even one other Choi heir surfaces, if she's proven to be bait in a larger trap, she dies immediately. No negotiation. Agreed, Jun said before I could speak. I'll vote yes as well, another man said. Same conditions. One by one they agreed. Grudgingly, with threats attached, but they agreed. Until the last man stepped forward, younger than the others, handsome in a polished way that made my skin crawl. He'd been watching me the entire time with an intensity that felt wrong. I vote no, he said quietly. The room froze. Marco. Yoon's voice held warning. Don't. You're making a mistake, cousin. Marco's smile was poisonous. That girl is bait. And you've swallowed the hook completely. Can't you see it? Can't you see how perfectly she's played you? He moved closer, addressing the room now. Found at your estate. Marked with a symbol you'd have to investigate. Beautiful enough to cloud your judgment. And now you're protecting her, claiming her, starting conflicts over her. His laugh was ugly. She's not scattered Choi remnants. She's the beginning of their revenge, and I won't let you destroy our family for a pretty face and a fake innocent act. It's not an act, I started. Shut up, Marco's hand moved to his jacket. You've done enough damage. Everything happened at once. June moved fast as lightning, putting himself between Marco and me. Security flooded forward. The other family heads scattered back. And Marco pulled a gun. Don't, June said, voice deadly calm. Don't make me kill you. You'd choose her over family? Marco's hand shook. Over blood? Over everything we've built? I'd choose her over anyone. Jun's stance was relaxed, but I could feel the violence coiled in him. Put the gun down. Walk away. We can forget this. No. Marco's eyes were wild. No, she dies now, before she destroys us all. The gun swung toward me. Jun moved. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space, but it wasn't Marco's gun that fired. John's did. Marco crumpled, red blooming across his white shirt. The gun clattered from his hand. He looked up at June with betrayal, and shock and something almost like understanding. You chose, he gasped. You actually chose her. I did. June's voice held no regret, and now everyone here knows it. Marco's eyes went blank. The room was silent except for my harsh breathing. I couldn't stop staring at the body, at the blood, at June's back, still positioned protectively in front of me. Anyone else have objections? June asked the room. Voice conversational. No one spoke. Good. He held out his hand to me. Then Amara lives. Under my protection. As mine. Completely. Permanently. I took his hand. Stepped over Marco's body. Let June lead me from the room, while 5 crime lords watched in silence. Outside, in the elevator, I finally found my voice. You killed him. Yes. Your cousin. Yes. He pulled me close, pressing his forehead to mine. And I'd do it again. I'd kill anyone who tries to take you from me. Do you understand? You're not just under my protection anymore. You're not just mine to keep safe. You're mine. Period. And I will burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you. That's insane. That's love. The word hung between us. Or possession. Or obsession. I don't know the difference anymore. All I know is that 6 days ago, you appeared in my life with a tattoo that should have made me your enemy. And now his kiss was fierce, claiming, now you're the only thing that matters. I kissed him back. Tasted violence and devotion, and something desperate. What happens now? I whispered against his lips. Now we go home. Now I make you officially mine in every way that matters. His smile was sharp. And now we figure out who planted you in my path. Because they succeeded, they made me choose you. Made me willing to start a war. And I want to know who's smart enough to use you as a weapon I'd willingly let destroy me. The elevator doors opened onto the parking garage. But that's tomorrow's problem, he said, leading me to the car. Tonight, I'm taking you home, and I'm going to make very sure you understand exactly who you belong to. 3 months later, the charity gala was the social event of the season. Every major family in attendance. Politicians. Business leaders. The legitimate face of Seoul's underground. I entered on June's arm, and the room took notice. I wore a designer gown, deep red silk, that complemented my skin tone perfectly. Off-shoulder style that left my back completely exposed. The mandala tattoo on full display. No longer hiding. No longer ashamed. Claiming it. Heads turned. Whispers followed. But they weren't whispers of scandal anymore. They were whispers of respect. Of fear. That's Amara Kong, June Kong's wife. The last Choi. She stood in front of 5 families and made them accept her. She watched him kill his own cousin to protect her. She's not just his wife. She's becoming his equal. Park Jin-woo approached first. Bowed slightly. Mrs. Kong, you've adjusted well to our world. I've learned from the best, I said smoothly. The response Jun had taught me. Park's smile was approving. Indeed. Your husband chose well. I worked the room with Jun at my side. Confident, strategic, fearless. The girl from Atlanta was gone. In her place stood someone who could command respect from killers, someone who could negotiate in 3 languages and read body language, like a book, someone who'd been forged in fire and come out steel. June watched me with barely concealed satisfaction. pride. Later, we escaped to a private balcony. Seoul stretched below us, glittering and vast. Tired of being a queen? June asked, joining me. Tired of performing? His arms came around me from behind. Our usual position now. Comfortable. Right. You weren't performing. That was all you. I leaned back against him, thought about the journey from that wedding night to here, from terrified bride to this, to someone who could stand in a room full of predators and make them respect her. Do you regret it? I asked quietly. Choosing me over everything. I chose you over everyone, June said. And I'd do it again. Every time. His kiss was soft, certain, no longer desperate, just, sure. We stood there, in comfortable silence, watching our city, until June's phone buzzed. He frowned, pulled it out, went completely still. What? I asked. Wordlessly, he turned the screen toward me. A photo. Sent from an unknown number. It showed a baby maybe 3 months old lying on a table, and someone's hand marking the baby's back with ink. A mandala. Intricate and perfect. My tattoo. My heart stopped. The message below read, Did you really think you'd figured it out? June's arm tightened around me. Get security, now. But I felt strangely calm. For 3 months, I'd been waiting for this, knowing that whoever had orchestrated my appearance was still out there, still watching, still planning. Let them come, I said quietly. June looked at me sharply. Amara, I'm done being afraid. I turned to face him. I'm a Kong now, and I'm a Choi. Whoever's watching just reminded me I'm both. So let them come, let them make their move. Something shifted in Jun's expression. Not worry. Respect. We'll find them, he vowed. And when we do, they'll face both of us. I touched his face. I'm not running, I'm not hiding, I'm done being the unknowing pawn. What are you saying? I'm saying use me as bait. But this time I know the game. This time I'm a player. I smiled. Dangerous and sharp, something I'd learned from him. They wanted to use me as a weapon. Let's show them they succeeded. Jin's smile matched mine. You've learned well, Mrs. Kong. I had a good teacher, Mr. Kong. He kissed me, deep and claiming, and full of promise. Tomorrow, we set the trap. Tonight. His hand slid down my spine, possessive over the tattoo that had started everything. Tonight, I remind you exactly who you belong to. And who belongs to me, I countered. And who belongs to you, he agreed. We stood there on the balcony, Seoul glittering below us. 2 people bound by conspiracy and choice, by danger and desire, by a tattoo that should have been a death sentence, but became a declaration instead. Somewhere out there, someone was watching. Someone who'd planned this for 23 years. Someone who thought they'd created a weapon to destroy Jun Kong. They just didn't realize the weapon had chosen its target, and we were both aiming at them. To be continued.